conservative communities, people from other conservative communities can understand. So if I speak to somebody who was a Mormon or a Jehovah's Witness or Westboro Baptist Church or Hasidic Jew, you know what I mean? Orthodox communities that are tight like that, they understand.
But it's worse than those communities.
Oh, yeah, it's worse than those communities. Yeah. But I mean, they understand this feeling of you were talking about, like, as in the individual in those communities, you don't feel like you...
But still, when they break out, they can break out without the violence.
Yeah, yeah.
Most of them. Yeah. They break out without...
There are risks involved, but of course, if you're a Muslim, the risks are the highest.
Are not going to happen in those communities.
Yeah. They lose contact with their friends and family and things like that. Like, it's traumatic, and there's high suicide rates, and it's not easy.
No, I'm not saying it's easy. It's not to say that. It's not to say their trauma is not real, but it's still a step further.
It's definitely a step further, and it's really hard to explain to somebody who has been free their whole life. It's hard for them to understand. But I think somebody from these communities, they can understand more, when I tell them this, they nod like they understand, like they get it.
Yeah. But how was he like?
Oh.
Was he nice at all? No?
No, he wasn't nice. He was,
because most people, you say, okay, he has some nice, like, was he all brainwashed, like...
He was, he had a very short temper, so he would get very angry very quickly. Sometimes I wouldn't even know why or understand why the reaction was so strong. So, you know, one time we lived on the 17th floor, and he came into the apartment and the curtains were open, and I wasn't wearing hijab, because I'm in the house.
Oh.
And he started to scream at me and pull my hair and spit in my face and tell me I'm a whore because the windows are open.
Oh, and you're not...
And I said, we're on the 17th floor. Are you afraid the birds are going to see me or somebody flying by in a helicopter? Like, who's going to see me? And of course, this causes me to get beat up more because I'm talking back.
And he was violent.
Oh, yes. Very violent. Constantly, just like so quick to violence. If I make dinner and he doesn't like the food, he throws the plate in my face. I never understood him. I never learned who he was. I didn't ever recognize him, like who his personality is or anything like that.
You didn't have conversations, normal conversations? No.
It was just I did my...
chores.
I did my duty. I would cook and clean and take care of the baby, and you know, he'd rape me when he wanted to, and that was it. Like we didn't ever sit down and have conversations together or learn about each other. He didn't know anything about my life. So most of the time he wouldn't even talk to me.
Would he spend a lot of time at home, or
a lot of times he would just go.
Yeah.
And he would just be gone for days. And I didn't know where he was. No. I didn't know where he was. I had no way of contacting him.
Did you know if he worked or not?
In the beginning, he didn't work. And he was just getting social assistance. And, but he was never in the house. And then later, he got a job.
Could you watch TV? Was that allowed?
Yeah, there was a TV. We had a TV. That was my only connection to the outside world. I wasn't allowed to have friends because he didn't approve of any of them. My mother was the only person I had.
Music still forbidden?
No. I couldn't even, you can't even, one time I was looking up a word in the phone book. Yeah. So I just started to sing the alphabet because, you know, it's an alphabetical order in the phone book. So I'm like, U, C, D, E, F, G, and punch in the face. Why are you singing? You're going to bring the devil into the house. You know, singing is haram. And up until then, I thought it was just music that was haram. But no, singing is haram too. So it was just like I never knew what's gonna happen. Like I never knew. I was always panicked, always scared. Never knew when he was gonna react. I always made sure my daughter was never in the room alone with him, because if she started to cry or something, I didn't know how he's gonna react to her.
Yeah.
So I was so scared when she was born.
Yeah.
Even when she would sleep, I would stay in the room with her.
Did you think about leaving from the start? Or?
I did think about leaving, especially when I had my daughter, because I felt like I needed to make sure that she didn't live the same life that I had lived. And then when CSIS contacted me and told me he was Al Qaeda, it was like, oh my God, now I have to get out of this. Now I understood that how bad it really was. But I was too...
Were you scared working with, like...
Oh, I never worked with them.
No, you didn't.
When I was living in his house. No, they asked me to.
Yeah. What did you say? You said no?
I was too scared, yeah. And I said, I don't know anything, I have nothing, there's nothing.
Did you tell him then?
No.
You didn't tell anybody?
No, I told my mom.
You told about...
Yeah, she wasn't surprised. She knew already.
But do you know if she told him then?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But the two of them had a very tight relationship, so it's quite possible.
Yeah.
But I was thinking of getting out, but I was not sure how I was going to do it. I had him and my mom. My mom was living with us. So both of them were controlling the house, and so I felt like...
Could you go
how was I going to get out? No.
To do your groceries?
No. I write a list and he gets the groceries. Yeah, I never would get groceries. So I decided that the best way was to separate the two of them, because at least then I would only have to deal with my mom. I wouldn't have to deal with him and my mom. There's no way I was going to fight both of them at the same time. So I decided to divide and conquer. And my ex at the time was always talking about how my mom was very overbearing and dominating, and he felt like
your husband at the time, right? Yeah.
And he said that he's like, oh, your mother's so annoying. Like I want her out of this house. I want to move out so that she's not bothering us or whatever. So I told her. He said that he wants to move out because you're annoying.
Oh.
So she got so angry.
Yeah.
And she moved out that day. She was so upset. She was so hurt. My mom has a very big ego.
Yeah.
And especially she loved him so much. So she was very upset. And I knew this was going to be her reaction.
Yeah.
So I was like, good. Now I have only one to deal with. And
you were in a copy at that time, right? You were all covered, even when you were walking out with him?
Yeah.
Would you go anywhere with him?
Mostly just to the doctor for my prenatal visits or things like that. But even after I left him, I continued wearing the niqab because I was used to it.
Yeah.
It felt strange to walk around with my face showing, you know. I felt like I was so...
bare.
Yeah. So exposed.
Yeah.
But, so then what happened was that the two of them separated, so my mom left, and so then him and I were in an apartment, and my plan was to somehow get to my mom's house and then get out.
Yeah.
Because I knew I wasn't going to be able to just get out from his house. But now that him and my mom hated each other, or at least my mom hated him, I knew she would help me now when I tell her he beats me and he's...
But she knew that.
She knew that already.
Yeah.
When I would tell her he beats me, she'd say, keep your voice down so the neighbors don't hear, so that they don't call the police.
Yeah.
She didn't care about me.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. But now that she didn't like him anymore, I thought maybe she'll help me to get out. But I wasn't quick enough, and then I ended up getting pregnant again.
Yeah.
And so then I was really, really, really sad and scared.
You couldn't use any
angry.
contraception?
No. And I felt like, well, now I have 2 children, so now I have no choice. I have to stay, because how am I going to be a single mom? I have a high school education. How am I going to be a single mom to 2 children?
Yeah.
So I accepted my fate. But then when I went to the doctor, I found out there was no heartbeat.
Oh.
So then I went for the DNC surgery, and the doctor said, you're going to do a general anesthetic, so I'm going to need you to go to stay with somebody who can help you to take care of your baby. My daughter at this point was just under 1 year.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, I'll go stay with my mom. So I asked him, my husband at the time, I said, can I stay with my mom, because after this surgery I need to have some support to help with the baby? And he said, yeah, sure, I don't care. So once I got to my mom's house, I knew that I was never going to go back to his house again, because I already was like, this is my opportunity to get out.
And if I never get out,
I'll never get out. Like, it was my one window.
Yeah.
And my mom went to work the next morning, because she was teaching at the Islamic school. And I had looked up in the phone book and I found a lawyer. And I called the lawyer and I made an appointment, and I took my baby and I went to the lawyer and I asked her, can I have a restraining order, divorce, and full custody? And as quickly as possible, and you cannot contact me at the house, you can't phone me, you can't send any mail there. Because
don't you have crisis centers for women?
Maybe there were crisis centers. I wasn't aware of them. I didn't even know.
You didn't know about this?
No. Yeah. So I'm sure.
This is also what happens when some it's not a normal life. I mean, even for Muslims, it's not like it. Most Muslims are not that restricted, right? So some of them go to normal schools. They know about these options that they have.
Yeah, but I was in a bubble separate from the rest of society. Yeah. And also back then, these kinds of places were not, like, it's not like now.
Yeah.
Now you pick up a chocolate bar and it has a 1-800 number for children to call if they're having trouble.
Yeah.
But not in my day.
No.
In my day, you didn't hear about a women's help center unless somebody told you. Like, it wasn't common.
Especially if you're not going to normal school, you're not getting the education that is...
Yeah, I'm not living a part of the society. I'm not going to the community centers and the library. And I'm living a separate life, right?
Yeah.
So, so then I went to the lawyer and I asked for these 3 things, and then I went back home and I waited. And a couple days later...
You went back to your mom's home?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then a couple days later, he comes to my mom's... She lived in an apartment building. And he's screaming, give me back my wife! In Arabic.
Yeah.
And so, of course, nobody's going to let him in the building, because there's some Arabic men, 6'4", big beard, screaming in Arabic. Nobody's going to let him in the building.
Oh, so you were alone at the...
I was up alone in my mom's apartment at
this
time.
There was a door,
you can't get in.
You couldn't get in.
Yeah. So then the people called the police, and the police came, and they told him that he had a restraining order. He wasn't allowed to come near the building again. And now he knew that I was going to divorce him. And I still was too scared to leave the house, leave my mom's apartment, because I didn't know where he was. He promised me that he was going to cut my face, and I didn't have any... I believed him.
Yeah.
Like, these are not... It's not
empty words.
Yeah, these are not threats. This is promises. This is going to happen to you.
While he was standing downstairs, shouting still, or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, he had told me this before anyway. All the time, he always would tell me what he was going to do to me if I ever tried to
leave him.
Yeah. Because I had asked him for a divorce before.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So he knew that.
And he knew. Yeah. You know, in Islam, you know
You have
you
to
have to
ask.
say talaq 3 times.
Yeah.
So when I first married him, he just said talaq twice. He said that way because you know you only have one chance to mess up.
Oh. And you were trying to say it, make him say it again.
And I'm trying to, I have no problem, please say it again.
Yeah.
And so then and then he did say it the 3rd time.
Oh, he did?
He did.
When?
When I was married to him.
Yeah.
And
But then you're divorced.
No, just wait.
Yeah.
Remember I told you my mom was at Al-Azhar?
Yeah.
So she got him connected to Sheikh, I don't know who, in Al-Azhar to say, oh, no, it's okay.
But it's not.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay. But
I don't remember the names of these sheikhs, but it was just like it went all the way to Sheikh whatever.
yeah.
And he said, they're all friends.
Yeah, they have
They
so
all
many.
support each other. All these, they have their groups.
Yeah.
So he came up with some excuse. The first time you said that twice in a row.
Yeah.
So that doesn't count.
Oh,
it has to be like a space in between or something. And so therefore you actually have one left or whatever.
Yeah.
Bullshit. And so then I had to go back to him again. But it was my mother that helped to make the connection to get me to go back. This is why I needed to separate them, right?
Yeah.
There was
she
no
didn't
way.
ask you.
She didn't care.
Yeah.
So this is why I knew I was never going to get out as long as the two of them were working together.
Did you tell her that you wanted to divorce him?
Yes, many, many times.
Yeah.
And she said, if you divorce him, you're going to bring shame on me because now I'm going to be a divorced woman.
With a divorced daughter.
Yeah, that I'm going to be a divorced woman, and she's going to say, she's going to be ashamed to have a daughter that's been divorced. People are going to say you weren't a virgin, that's why he divorced you. Whatever. You have to go back. You have to stay with him. So she was always pushing.
But what happened now when he found out that you had a restraining order and you wanted?
So now that my mother wasn't with him, supporting him and keeping me in that marriage, I was able to get the restraining order,
And she supported
divorce.
you in this?
No, she just didn't support him.
Yeah.
She just stayed out of it.
Yeah.
This time. So at least there's that.
Yeah.
And so I did it behind her back anyway because I didn't trust her.
Yeah.
And then I was too scared to leave the house because I didn't know where he was or when I'm ever going to bump into him. Not many women wearing black niqab.
Yeah.
Who's going to know it's
And
me?
even then you still wore it.
I still wore it because, like I said, I still felt strange without it.
How many years did you wear that?
About 5 years.
You were married to him for 5 years?
Yeah, between 4 and 5 years. So then CSIS contacted me again. Finally, they had a picture of him behind bars in prison in Egypt. And they said, is this him?
Yeah.
And I said, yes, that's him. And they said, okay, don't worry. He's going to be sentenced to 15 years hard labor, and you don't have to worry about him